So do you still get that high from that conference you attended? You know, the one where you got all those amazing ideas from all these people that are making it happen. Or maybe you're feeling the post-conference slump because you didn't do anything with all that information and all those notes that you took. And now you're back to the same old stuff that you were doing or weren't doing before the conference. Either way, it's not too late. Just dig up your notes from the conference and follow these steps to help you get focused on taking action you need to take to get you and your business where you want to go. But before we dig into the notes and ideas from the conference, I want to prime your brain a little bit with this question. What's your problem? Seriously, what's the biggest problem you need to tackle in your business? What is getting in your way? What keeps you up at night? What makes you crazy? What would your life and business look like when this problem is solved? Don't worry about how to solve it. Just think about what things would be like when it's solved. Create a visual, create an image in your head of what reality could be if this problem solved. Hang with that problem solved feeling for a minute. What would that feel like? Okay, let's move on. Whether you took copious notes or stored all of your ideas in your brain, you really need to get everything all in one place. And that means it's time for a brain dump. Find a whiteboard, get out a pen and paper, open up a blank doc on your computer, whatever that means, however you like to get information out of your head or gathered in one place, whatever you want to do, just get it all in one place. And even if you've already have a ton of notes that you've written, go back through your notes and find out what is an idea, a project, or an action that you want to take on. And write those down on a separate piece of paper, or like I said, on a whiteboard or on a doc in your computer. That way you can still see which of these ideas speak to you and excite you. So just hit pause if you want to right now and tackle that. I'll wait, don't worry. Okay, so now that you got a brain dump done, you got to do a quick sort, because sometimes a great idea is just a great idea for the person who shared it with you. It might not actually be a great idea for you. So did someone become wildly successful by using blogging as their main marketing vehicle, but you hate writing and you hate blogging? Well, that's a great idea for them, but it's not necessarily a great idea for you. Did someone on stage become wildly successful by hosting events and you love gathering people and hosting events? Well, that's a great idea for them, and maybe it's a great idea for you, and you're only going to know if you try it out. So, going back through your ideas, go through your brain dump and do this quick sort and figure out what's something you want to focus on, and keep in mind that the stuff you're going to focus on is stuff that's a great idea for you, not just a great idea. But before you hit pause and do your quick sort, let me help you a little bit further with figuring out what's a great idea for you. A great idea for you, more than anything, is one that allows you to live your purpose. If you aren't clear on your purpose, it's always going to be hard to decide what you really need to do in your business and your life. So figure that out if you haven't yet. It's really got to be in line with your why to really be a great idea for you. Similarly, it's really important that this idea is in line with your values. You got to factor in your values. If you try to implement an idea that contradicts your purpose or your values, you'll either stall in actually doing it, or you won't be able to sustain it, no matter how successful that idea is. You'll burn out eventually. Another sign that something is a good idea for you is that you're able to envision it once it's complete, or once it's done, and once it's successful. So what would this idea look like if it was wildly successful? What would that mean for you? What would that mean in your life and in your business? And finally, you got to be excited about this idea. It's got to be something that the results don't just thrill you, but the process to get there excites you in some way, shape, or form, because it's going to take work to make this happen. Even when something's in line with your values and in line with your purpose, it still takes work, but it's the type of work that feels like it's worth doing. And so it's got to excite you at some level in some way. Again, not the results, but the process. Okay, so once you figure out which ideas are great ideas for you, you got to narrow things down and just pick your top 3. So go back and reflect on what your problem is that you're trying to solve. Because you've done the hard part now, right? You've done the brain dump, you've done the sort, and now you've figured out the great ideas for you. So you've got to think about your biggest problem again and see which ideas will have the most impact on that problem. So you're looking for the top 3 ideas that will either solve or support a solution to that problem. Again, push pause if you need some time to figure out what your top 3 really are. Okay, next, for each of those 3 possible ideas, you got to think about what it would look like to have each of them fully implemented. So run through and take some time to answer these questions for each of your 3 ideas. What would it mean for your business? Another way to think about it is, what would your business look like for this idea to be wildly successful? What would it look like for your team if this idea was wildly successful? What would it mean for your workload? How would that change if this idea was wildly successful? What would it mean for your family? What would your family life look like if this idea were wildly successful? And what would it mean for your life in general if this idea was wildly successful? Again, push pause, take a moment, and answer these questions for all 3 of these ideas. Okay, great. Welcome back. So now that you've looked at what this means in your life, business, team, etc., for each of these 3 ideas, you know what I'm going to do now, right? I'm going to ask you to narrow it down to one idea. Now is your time to pick the one idea that you're going to get started on. You'll tackle all of them eventually, but if you get laser focused on just this one idea and actually implement it, you'll be so much farther along than if you tried to implement all 3 at once. So be brave, be bold, just pick one of them to start with. So you got your one idea, right? Now ask yourself, if I had nothing else to do for the rest of the day, what would be the first step I would need to take to make this idea a reality? And I mean the very next step. There's something that is actionable, that you can actually do in one working session. So a working session is, say, 90 minutes or less. So what is the one thing you could do in 90 minutes or less to move this idea forward? And it could be sit down and outline what you think needs to get done to make this idea a reality. Or it could be make a phone call you need to make, or send an email you need to send. Whatever it is, just identify what the very next thing is you would need to do to find out if this idea could really happen or to make this idea a reality. And I promise you, this next thing, this next action is something that's simple. Keep these steps really simple and small, because that allows you to actually take action, to make mistakes if you need to, so you can learn and adjust and change course. This is going to be a one step at a time kind of journey, just like all journeys. Okay, so you got your next action identified? Now what? Well, I originally said if you had nothing left to do today, what would your next action be? But you might actually have stuff to do today. So you'll need to schedule this next action toward your big idea. So look at your calendar and purposefully schedule time to get this done. Share this big idea and this next action with someone so you can have some support and some accountability. Then, of course, complete that first action, see how it feels, and determine what the next action is to make this idea a reality. And then what? Well, keep us up and you're going to get on a roll, and before you know it, your big idea will actually be implemented and in place. And then you can go back to your great ideas list and see what to tackle next. You might find that by implementing this one idea, it takes care of those other ideas that you had to do, or it might change how you approach those other ideas, which is why you picked one thing to implement at a time. So you'll just go back to your list and follow these same steps again to implement the next great idea. In other words, lather, rinse, and repeat. That's it. I hope you found this video to be helpful. I hope you're getting your ideas out of your head and into action. If you need help with your conference download, or if you need help uncovering and articulating your purpose, or maybe you need help clarifying and communicating your values to your team, go ahead and head on over to my website, elisetouche.com, and you can learn more about how I can help you. My name is Elise Touche, and I'm a purpose and leadership coach. And my purpose is to help people find profound acceptance for who they are, appreciate others for being themselves, and to help them join together to move each other and the rest of the world to a better place. Thanks for watching.